Do you feel like that year set the blueprint for hip hop, like for the years to come? Like
yes.
Everything is reinventing itself from that year.
From 86 on up to 89 set the blueprint for hip hop coming, because it was so many groups blooming at that time, and so many people just learning stuff. You know what I mean? So Rick came out with the incredible album at that time. That he did most of it. He came out when at that time when Children's Story, that wasn't even my favorite record. But my favorite record was Hey Young World. Cause you know I'm in the slow records. Hey Young World and Moment I Fit. Yo, the rhyme styles he used on Lick the Balls.
Excuse me, I'm trying to earn in me a buck or two. A silent rapper come in, and who the fuck are you? Around this part of town with diamonds and your girl and fuck. I'm trying to enter in this rap contest you're having, sir. You're kinda late, flat tire, well let's do a cut. Well alright, pay me now, and you'll be after her. I hope I don't mess up or run out of breath or even Rick. Don't worry, hun, you hit him harder than a fucking brick.
Come on, man. It was incredible.
Yo, shout out to Biz Marquee. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm 12 Kyle. Check this out. On this podcast, we're going to talk about one of the most incredible and best albums from the greatest year in hip hop, 1988. That's right, Slick Rick's The Great Adventures of Slick Rick. Now, anytime we talk about hip hop, it's always great to have on people who know what they're talking about. So, of course, I got the homie Eclectik coming through, and we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about the track listings, what we loved about the album, and the track that we hated on the album, and much, much more. So sit back, relax. We'll drop the theme music, and we'll get the podcast jumping. Let's get it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for checking out the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm your boy 12 Kyle. As I mentioned in the intro, we are talking about one of the greatest hip hop albums of 1988. This album is actually turning 30 years old. That's right, The Great Adventures of Slick Rick 30 years later. And we got family in the house, man. Stepping into the building, man. You love him, or maybe you don't love him. Frequent contributor to the podcast. My man, Marmello. Get on the mic because you eat Jello.
You stole my shit.
He collected. What up, baby?
Yo, 12, what's the scoop?
Chilling, man. Chilling. Thank you for coming back on the podcast, man. Have a seat, get comfortable. You got some water over there, some juice, some simply lemonade for you. What's up? It's good.
Yo, man. Everything. I'm going to tell you this. It's always a good time to talk hip hop, especially if we're going to talk an 88 joint. So I'm happy to be here. This is a great topic. It should have been on my show, so I could have did it correctly. But I'm gonna help you out here. I'm gonna push your ratings up. I'm gonna get you the ears. I'm gonna get you the listens. I'm gonna get you the likes. So well, you're welcome in advance.
Just for you and for those listening, most of the 88 joints I'm gonna do with him. So I might do one or two dolo, but for the most part, the 88 joints I want to do with him because I know a lot about 88, but it's always good to have other people on who were around in that time. Granted, some of you can't help it if you weren't around for the greatest year of hip hop because your parents hadn't had sex yet. I understand. It's okay.
Uh-huh. He's gonna do the a lot of the 88s he's gonna do with me. The ones he's gonna do by himself, he's gonna do the Colors soundtrack and Mantronics in full effect.
I will not be doing Mantronics. I might do Tough Crew. Did Tough Crew come out in 88? No, I ain't doing Tough Crew.
You wouldn't be doing it with me.
Hey, shout out to Tough Crew. You like Tough Crew.
There's no shout outs to Tough Crew. No shout out to Tough Crew.
Man, we're talking Ricky D, Slick Rick, the Ruler. A guy who is, a lot of times mentioned in, the annals of, one of the greatest MCs of all time. Personally, he appears in my top 10 lyricists of all time.
He does not.
Yes, he does. He's at 10. So
everybody bookmark this for when we do a show, and I ask him his 10 in like a month, and this guy never comes out.
Yeah, Slick Rick will be at 10. But yeah, man. Again, 1988. It's well established. It's well chronicled, and we're going to talk about it. The greatest year in hip hop as far as music is concerned. And you can also make case for R&B, which you guys, if you've been following the podcast, I did the Any Heartbreak album, which came out in 1988. So be on the lookout for other albums that came out in 88. So it's hard to believe that these albums are turning 30 years old. But here we are, man. So the great adventures of Slick Rick. Let's jump in the time machine, man. I want you to think back, Eve. Do you remember where you were when you heard this album? I mean, like, were you at the crib? Did you go get it? Was it the talk in school? According to you, you were 2 years old in '88, but we know better. But
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, man. I was 3. So what? I was in my father's basement.
Okay.
And what happened was, so I knew the album came out. We got the what was that? Teenage Love. We got the Teenage Love video. That was the first single. Teenage Love was the first single. It was the first video, and right around then, I was like, I gotta have this. I knew somebody that had the tape. I dubbed it. I never bought it.
Really?
I dubbed it. I didn't have no money.
Hey, neither did I.
What do you mean, really? I had no money. So somebody at school had it, and I was like, yeah. And so they let me take it home. I think I traded them something because nobody was just like, yo, take my joint. But I think I let him hold whatever the hell. And I think matter of fact, if I'm 100% correct, I either let him hold In Control Volume 1 or the Skinny Boys. They can't get enough.
Shout out to the Skinny Boys.
Skinny Boys that can't get enough.
Which surprised me because you did a podcast on Skinny Boys, and I was like, he and I are the only people that know about the Skinny Boys.
Nah, man, the Skinny Boys
that was a good podcast, by the way.
Well, thank you. Yeah, depending on where you were, Skinny Boys was big. Only hip hop group from Connecticut. Real niggas lick shots. I gotta say that every time I say that word. Anyway, so I went home. And I needed to dub it. I remember this. I didn't have any cassettes to dub it. Right? So I was like, damn. Because I had to take it back to him the next day. So I took one of my father's tapes, and I forget what it was. It was probably like Bob James or fucking Najee, some shit, fucking some bullshit, and I put the tape over the holes, and I was like, yeah, well, he's just gonna have to eat this, and so I erased whatever that was with this joint, right? But what happened was, whatever tape that wasn't as long as The Great Adventures of Slick Rick. So I couldn't get the whole album. So
damn.
I know. So what happened was, it was like say the tape, your normal tapes was 60 minutes and 90 minutes. And say this one was like 45 minutes. And then say Great Adventures was like 51 minutes long. Right. So I was like, so this is what I did though, because I needed the whole joint. The first thing I did was I didn't dub Indian Girl. I was like, I could do without this.
Oh my God, that's funny.
And so then I was like, all right, boom. All right, okay. And so then what I did, every track that had a long outro or scratching, I would pause, go past the scratching, and get back to the verse.
Get back to the verse, right.
And record that. And so it wasn't until like I bought the CD in the 90s.
Damn.
That I heard that I was able to hear the whole stop lying, because I was just like, hey, I had very limited real estate here on this tape. I just need verses.
Wow.
So that is my Great Adventures story.
That's interesting, man, because
I still have that tape, by the way.
Do you really? Wow, that's what's up.
I 100% still have that tape. It's white as it still has the Scotch tape over the hole. I 100%. When I say I still have it, I mean it's in my closet as we speak.
Wow, that is great. And that story just kind of takes me back to how we got music. And I know it's we talk about it all the time as far as like how technology, and I'm not going to knock technology because it is what it is. I mean, but when you have, Spotify or you have Apple Music, or for those 7 of you that have Tidal and you stream your music, it's there at your fingertips. But what he just described was how we got our music. You either bought it, you caught the dub. And, you had to, sometimes if the tapes were long, you had to kind of figure out what it was. I didn't know you were going to cut a song out there. You cut a whole song out.
Well, I didn't need Indian Girl.
Yeah, we'll get to that song. Get it in the podcast. But, that's a very innovative way of coming across that music. So you did not actually purchase this album until many years later.
I purchased it. I purchased it maybe 2 years later on cassette, and then I purchased it again on CD because I just needed the CD.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the first time that I heard this, I had a neighbor that had it, and he was a couple of years older than me. I think. The album came out November 1st, 1988. So I had to have been a sophomore in high school. Great times.
Jesus, damn, you old. A sophomore in high school in 88? Jesus Christ.
88, man. Greatest year in hip hop. So
damn, Grandpa.
So yeah, I remember I didn't have, I was getting an allowance back then, but the thing about that year I remember distinctly was that it was so many dope tapes coming out. So, bruh, a tape was like, it might have been like $8 or $9. And while looking back on it now as an adult, that doesn't sound like a lot of money, but to a teenager, that's a lot of money. So, so we had to be very selective about the tapes that we bought. So I remember copping a dub, and I'll ask you this: did you have any friends that had tapes, or maybe you were the guy that did this? Had a tape and would not let people dub it. Be like, nah, you got to go buy it.
Oh yeah, that was the edict with my people. Look. When I said it was this dude at school, that wasn't my friend. That was somebody who I just went to school with that I knew had it. If it was my friends, it would have been like, fuck out of here.
Right.
I was just talking to one of my boys, my oldest friend that I'm still cool with. Knew each other since before 2 Live Crew came out. Anyway, And it was two things happened. One thing I got in 86. I want to say 86. I got the Joski Love single. My Girl, Say Joe.
Wait a minute. The Joski Love single, he had another single besides Pee Wee's Dance?
Fuck, I got his album.
Stop. Joski Love had an album?
I got his album in the same closet with my Slick Rick.
Shit, you bullshit me, man. I didn't know that dude had an album.
It's called Joe Cool. I'm pretty sure it's called Joe Cool.
Oh shit, that's crazy. All these
years. But and so the joint was crazy. And so I went I think my boy came over and I was like, look what I got. And he was like, yo, I gotta get a dub. I was like, yeah, no. And he was like, nah, I got to. And I made him pay me. He had to pay me. We had like $2 and some dollars. And
See, this proves my point that there are some hip hop fans, and this guy's one of them, who would not let people cop a dub. And you sound, huh?
Hold on, you're right. Hold on, I'm gonna tell you the second.
Go ahead.
The second tell you this is real quick. So it was this radio station that played all the new hip hop. It was how I was introduced to Rakim, KRS One, EPMD. How I've never heard any of the stuff except for on this radio station, right? And so what I used to do, because it was a Saturday night show, I would just hit record and just let it go. And then on Sunday, when I got up, I would just play the whole tape. It's like, damn, that song's dope. This is crazy. And so, what was it? It was Just One of Those Days by Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. This is off the Rock the House album. And so this was 85. It's like 85, 86. And so the next day I got up, I was like, yo, this song is crazy. And so, because we had already heard Girls Ain't Nothing But Trouble. But the original Girls Ain't Nothing But Trouble, not the one that you guys listen to now where he cleaned it up because he's a star. It's an original edit, by the way. I will get to that one day. But so anyway, long story short, I grabbed the tape and I ran over to my dude's house. He lived like 3 blocks away. And this was Sunday morning, so I'm knocking on the door. His mother's answering the door. They fixing breakfast. I was like, yo. And he was like, he in his room. He was still in the bed. And so I was like, yo, you gotta hear this song. Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Just One of Those Days. And it goes like, and I started to tell him, he's like, hold on. And he got out the bed and reached over. He had the whole fucking album. He was like, yeah, I got the album yesterday. I was like,
yo, I would have paid money to see your face.
I was like, what are you talking? I was like, you gotta. He wouldn't even let me hear it. He was like, nah, man, you gotta get it yourself. He wouldn't let me hear the album. Let alone dub it. He was like, I was like, put it on. He's like, nah, man.
Don't you just hate? And what this is speaking
to, we were
ladies,
ruthless, and it was so much, man. It was so much fun.
What he's speaking to, and he is saying it so eloquently, is you were really considered to be dope if you could get your hands on stuff that's exclusive and nobody else had. You know, now because of supply and demand and because of the internet and technology, that'll never happen. I was telling somebody the other day about how in the 90s, a lot of times we had to, and this is what, kind of pushed first week sales, because you had to get an album the first week that it came, because if not, there was a possibility that if the stores ran out of those albums, you were shit out of luck. Like, you might have to wait. Imagine not getting Illmatic the first week that it comes out, and everybody we were in college at the time, everybody on your campus has it but you, and you can't even play it because all of the local record stores don't have it. I mean, like, it's, again, that's not something that anybody of this generation will ever see, you know, but that just talks about, and you just talked about the exclusivity of, you know, some of these albums. So to have an album like that, like your boy had,
because it also what you people gotta remember or understand or know, it wasn't one thing. Hip hop was not what it is now. So It wasn't like you turning on the TV and like, hey, Slick Rick's album just came out.
No, sir.
You knew Slick Rick's album came out when you went to the record store and saw Slick Rick's album.
Right.
So
there was no rollout.
So if you didn't know that the album came out, if your parents didn't have a car to get you to the record store, if you didn't go to the record store for, say, 2 weeks, you didn't even know it existed.
Nope.
Because it wasn't you weren't turning to your local radio station and fucking Mona Lisa was coming on.
Hip hop got very little airplay right now.
So it was a lot of times you could have something and be the only person on your block with it for a year. People just be like, yo, if you want to hear this song, you have to go find him. Mm-hmm. And he'd play it for you.
He might. And if he played it for you, he wasn't going to give you a copy of it.
No. And if you gave you a copy, you coming off like $20. Right. In the 80s, $20 is like $2.5 million. I remember asking my boy, and it's funny because I talked to him earlier tonight. My boy Jay Fresh, he lives out in LA, and I was reminding him how we were listening to, because like he would always get to, because he was the first person that I knew that had NWA. He had Eazy-E's album. He had Straight Outta Compton before anybody else. He actually put me on to NWA, and I remember going to his house, man, and he had he had Tough Crew, but the album that he had that I wanted was Schoolie D. I heard Parkside Killer. Parkside 5-2. Oh, you heard PSK, What Does It Mean?
Yeah, I heard PSK, What Does It Mean? And I wanted that album, and he played it for me. He would not give. He's like, man, you got to give me $10. I'm like, man, we boys. And I mean, I've known this dude since we was, like you said, since we was 6 years old, right? And he would not give me a copy of that, but he wanted to give me a copy of Tough Crew. I didn't want Tough Crew.
Nobody wants Tough Crew. Tough Crew.
Shout out Tough Crew. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's how it was back then. So what we're speaking on is, I mean, if you could get your hands on some albums, and if you were the only, like you said, that's a great point. You might be the only person on your block that has it.
Listen. I was 100%, 150% the only person on my city block. Might have been on my city block that had the Skinny Boys. Nobody had the Skinny Boys.
I don't think anybody else wanted the Skinny Boys.
No. People wanted those of the Skinny Boys.
You know, the Skinny Boys wasn't popping in South Carolina where I grew up.
My other boy lived across town, had the Skinny Boys. And we was just like the two halves that knew about the Skinny Boys. Shout out to Jabari. That's what I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. Yeah. So you hear Slick Rick the first time.
Slick Rick. That's about it.
Great Adventures of Slick Rick in your pops, in your basement. Your pops was he playing it or?
No. I got it from my man.
Okay.
At school, I brought it in. Had the back in the days, ladies and gentlemen, there were stereo systems.
Yes.
You know, an equalizer, the dual cassette, got the record player on top. We got the. Boy, if you had one, and then the big tower speakers, that was furniture.
Yes, it really was furniture.
That was you needed. If you had a dope one, the more lights, the better. The more knobs, the better. You don't even know what half of them does. I'm like, what's Dolby mean? I don't know. Press it.
You just press the buttons.
Yeah. But anyway, so now I'll go ahead and put in the dual cassette thing, started recording it, and just listening. You know, here's the thing about Slick Rick. Here's the thing about Slick Rick and the thing about this album. Mm-hmm. If you know Slick Rick and you know Lottie Dottie and you know the show, so you like, this dude's dope. So when Dougie Fresh stuff come, you like, well, Slick Rick. Damn, ain't no Slick Rick. So you wait. And again, you don't know. Slick Rick could have been dead. And so that's 86. So then 87, you don't hear nothing.
Nope.
And then 88, you turn on the videos and there's Teenage Love.
Yes.
So you like, oh, that's Slick Rick. Slick Rick is back with the Teenage Love. So this is what I want people to understand, because it's the Great Adventures of Slick Rick show, podcast, episode. So you listen to Teenage Love, you see the video, you're like, damn, this dude back and he back smooth, because you already know on the show on Lottie Dottie, he's singing Me, Share My Bell, and all of the stuff. You say, I gotta get Slick Rick. You get the tape. I get the tape. I put it in. The first thing you hear is like a prostitute. You like, yo, what the fuck is this? Wait a minute. Whoa. What, the Teenage Love. Teenage Love. Lottie Dottie, we like to party, right? Treat her like a prostitute. Bill Miss Dick way down your wife's throat. Like, whoa, stop. What the hell is happening?
Oh. That's what it was.
That's the first song. You can't make that the first song.
First song. Out the gate.
You cannot make that the first song. After your first single is Teenage Love.
Yeah, your first single is Teenage Love. Man, that is so funny. When I started thinking about doing this podcast, it made me think back to like you said, just when I first got it. And I remember I actually, much like you, I copped the dub off somebody, and the guy that lived up the street, he was, like I said, he was 3 years older than me, and he gave me a hard time, but he did let me cop a dub. So I copped the dub and I was listening to it, man, and I was just like, yo, this dude. I mean, because like you said, we saw the video. I want to say we saw the video first, at least in South Florida. We saw the video first, and Teenage Love was the first song that was released. And of course, you know, Rick's in the video. He's got the truck jewelry, and again, like you mentioned, the show, Lottie Dottie. Mm-hmm. 2 of the arguably top 5 hip hop songs in history.
Yep.
Not just the 80s, not the 90s. In hip hop history, 2 of the top 5. So this is what you're dealing with here with this MC. So as you're listening to this album, what stood out to you about this album? What made for somebody listening who wasn't around, or let's say they couldn't come outside in 1988, or let's just say they weren't born, what made this album dope?
Easy. The production by the I guess it was the Hit Squad.
It was Bomb Squad. It was Bomb Squad.
No, Bomb Squad. I'm sorry.
I know what you mean.
But the production, it was not like anything, including Public Enemy.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
I mean, they literally tailored the production to him and his rhymes and his persona. The Ruler's Back with the horns and the scratching of Lottie, it's crazy. How he had different subject matters. You gotta understand, in '88, you know, you had everything. I mean, the greatest year in hip hop. You had your Boogie Down Productions, and Dougie Fresh dropped his album that year.
Mm-hmm. Yep, World's Greatest Entertainment.
but you had a plethora of sounds. You had Strictly Business in your ear, but you also had He's the DJ, I'm the Rapper.
Yep.
You also had Straight Outta Compton. But then you had MC Shy D. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be tough. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. But you had Critical Breakdown with the Ultramagnetic. So to make an album that was so different from all of them and still be dope, and also he already had a pedigree. Mm-hmm. You got to understand that a lot of these people, and this is debut albums for a lot of the people.
Yes.
But we already knew him. So we were already going to give him a little leg up. Like, yeah, this is the first NWA album. I'm like, who the fuck is NWA? Who the fuck is this? I mean, people like me knew because 8 Ball and Dope Man, it came out almost a year before. But you're like, Kid and Play. But that's Lottie Dottie dude from like 5 years ago. Right. So it's like, but the way, as people like to say a lot these days, sonically, it just sounded so good. It did. And the fact that, you know, you had your story rhymes on there. You had stuff that'll teach you. You had Hey Young World on that fucking album.
Shit right there.
One of the greatest, most important teaching. My mother was like, yeah. When I played that voice, she was like, yeah. I mean, it's just, the album is so, if track 6 was not on that album.
Hold it. We're gonna talk about the tracks at the commercial break.
Track 6, Jesus. Track 6.
Oh my God. I agree with you, man. I think the production, and you mentioned, man, the Bomb Squad. For those of you hip hop fans, you know the Bomb Squad from their work with Public Enemy and Ice Cube, matter.
Hank Shockley.
Yeah, Hank Shockley, Eric Sadler. Actually, The Ruler's Back was produced by Jam Master Jay. Rest in peace. But other than that, this whole album was produced by Slick Rick and the Bomb Squad. So, like you said, sonically, it was just really, really incredible. When you combine that with Rick's rhymes, his ability to tell stories and keep you engaged. Nobody was really at that level with that type of production. Now, it was guys who could rhyme back then. I don't want to get it twisted, because in '88 you had to rhyme. I mean, like, the gimmick stuff really didn't come until years later. But I think one of the things that stood out is just his lyricism and the way, like, for me, as I was listening to it, I just remember sitting down, listening, and you almost were hanging on every word. And I think one of the things that always stood out to me about this particular year is that the lyricism that we saw in that year, and even in that era, the golden era of hip hop, is that you didn't necessarily have to have video. The video enhanced the songs, but they painted pictures to where you could just sit and let your imagination kind of run with it. And you got a really, really good understanding as to what they were talking about, and you could follow along. And I think that was one of the things that really, really stood out about this album.
He truly painted a picture with The Ruler's Back. When he was talking, like, you could picture, kid with cleared his throat and said, hallelujah, kid says, you're like, it's like an old Shakespeare play or something looking type thing. And children started like, damn, Dave, the dope face up on the top of the thing. And the moment I feel like, yeah, you can picture everything he said. Like, I had in my mind what Mona Lisa looked like. All I knew that she had green eyes, and she was over 18, and she wore more gold than Mr. T.
More gold than the man on 18.
Yeah, I know. That's what I know.
Oh man, that's so funny. Question. So we're gonna take a commercial and we'll get into the tracks on the other side of commercial. But before we go to commercial, I gotta ask you this question: if you're ranking, and I think I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask anyway. This for our listeners: if you're ranking this album amongst the other albums from 1988, are you putting it in your top 20, top 10, top 5, or top 3?
Oh, top 3. Easy.
Okay. Top 3. So there it is. I tell you what. Let's take a quick.
Whoa! What about you? Where you put?
This is carry the 1 and you add 2. This is my top 5. Definitely. This is an album that I still listen to at least, on average, at least twice a month. I mean,
always listen to something a whole bunch.
I love this album. But there's one thing I don't like about this album, and I'll talk about it. But I love this album. But yeah, I'm definitely putting this in my top 5. So yeah, let's take a quick commercial. On the other side of the break, we'll break down the track listing and
track 6.
And we'll tell you what we think about the album. Sit tight. We'll be back in just a second.
Cheers. So, Rick, to you, 88, now let's call that year, round about that year. What did hip hop mean to you then?
88, for me, that was like my golden era, my generation golden era, you know what I mean? We was on tour, Cool J and stuff, me, EMP and D, De La Soul K, so it was like different varieties of hip hop, just a different like grapes, apples, oranges, bananas and stuff of hip hop, you know what I mean? So it was like a variety of styles of hip hop.
And just like that, we are back. Once again, it's your boy 12 Kyle podcast. Got my man Eclectik in the building.
Yo, Kit, what's the scoop?
Yeah, we're talking Slick Rick, the great adventures of Slick Rick. 30 years later, man. E, can you believe the album is turning 30 years old this year?
Yes, I can. And the reason why I say that is because it seems like it's been a long time since.
It doesn't feel like that to me, man.
No. It's been a long time since great hip hop albums were made. And so, I'm going to tell you a secret. This is a secret. It's not a big thing, but in my brain, the 90s were like still kind of recent. When I think of older stuff, I go to the 80s, but when I think of newer stuff, I still think like 90s. Like in my brain, I totally disregard like 2000 just about anything. Like it's still feels something 95, 96. Like it knew something a couple of years ago.
It's funny. I got that feeling and that thought. For those of you listening, Ian and I did. We went back and forth talking about songs and albums from 1995 and 96. We did that on his podcast. So if you haven't heard that, you definitely need. If you finish this one, go back and listen to that. One among the many podcasts we've done together. But I still feel the same way. I totally agree. That even when we were talking about, I remember we were talking about the songs from 95 and 96, and I was like, those songs, they don't feel old. Like they feel like you could just really just touch them. Like they just came out a couple of weeks ago.
Exactly.
And that speaks to, where, that's a whole nother podcast.
It is. Let's not sidetrack it.
We have to do that a whole nother podcast. Okay, so let's get into the track. We talked about before we went for commercial break, the track listing. And we'll just, I'll run the tracks to you, and you just, give me some of your thoughts on it.
Okay.
First track, the mentioned "Treat Her Like a Prostitute," man. What was your take on that one, man?
Treat Her Like a Prostitute. So, Treat Her Like a Prostitute tricked me. What I thought, because you got to understand, this is in the era of samples. I thought I was going to get a sample of "Treat Her Like a Lady."
Shout out to the Temps.
Yeah, I was like, Slick Rick about to kill this song. He gonna have to treat her like any helper with the coat. I was ready. I was ready. And that shit came. I was like, oh.
No, that's not help her with her coat.
That is help her with her throat.
Oh shit!
It is definitely help her with her throat. So we got the story rhymes back. We definitely got the story rhymes back, and for what it's worth, it's a pretty strong song. And he gave you some humor at the. I guess it was a slick rapper. His name is MC Rick A.
Yeah, this is Treat Her Like a Prostitute. It's like you said, that's the first song on the album. So it's like,
and it didn't even set the tone for the rest of the album. It was just the first song.
No, just the first song. And I mean, like, Rick just really punched you in the face. I mean, literally. I mean, like, he literally punched you in the face with the first song. But I love the joint, man. It's a joint that obviously in 1988 didn't get a lot of airplay.
No,
but
it's definitely a jam that you love that don't be getting no airplay.
Definitely a jam that you love that don't be getting no airplay. But the streets loved it, man. I love that song. Still love it to this day. Then we go to track 2, as I mentioned before. The Ruler's Back, produced by JMJ, Jam Master J. What'd you think about that one?
I thought that was that, and to this day, it seems for me that is his signature song. One is telling us that he's back. Like, yeah, remember me from the Get Fresh crew, but I'm back. And from Slick Rick, the persona, and using the London, England type of feel with the horns and the monarchy style things. It's just incredible. It's just, I mean, so much so, dick riding lips. Typo hole. Fucking tried to redo a part of it.
I was gonna mention that, but since shit, I won't.
I didn't do anything. But.
Yeah, I mean, Jay-Z did bite the title, man.
Oh, Jay-Z did.
Beyonce's husband. You know that guy. Why is he walking around with a peasy head, man? But that's not stuff.
Like I guess he's like, look, I already
50, man. Why are you walking around looking like that, man?
Look at it this way. Look at it this way. He's like, look, I got her. I cheated on her and still got her.
And I got these kids.
So whatever. I can do whatever I want right now.
But I digress. So yeah, the Ruler's Back, another favorite of mine too. Like you said, even looking back on it now, I kind of wish or wonder. I don't want to say wish. I wonder why that wasn't the lead song. I mean, like, think about it. The Ruler's Back. I mean, they fit in the theme of, hey, I thought it might have been a lead song for the album. As far as how it was sequenced. Because you just don't think about sequencing an album starting off with "Treat Her Like a Prostitute."
No,
but hey, then we move to track 3, A Children's Story.
I have a love-hate relationship with A Children's Story.
Speak on it.
When the song came out, or when the album came out, I heard the song. I was like, "This is crazy." I love this song. When I saw the video, I slowly started to dislike the song. The video in my mind is terrible. It has nothing to do with the song. And then I got older and I started listening to the song. And I'm like, the story is not even that dope. The stories of Treat Her Like a Prostitute is better than these in my mind. But the legacy of that song, as I've stated, he's probably responsible for 2 of the top 3. hip hop songs, depending on who you ask, he could be responsible for 3 of the top 10. Because a lot of people will put Children's Story in the top 10 ever made, and it is it's incredible. But I think it's revered more than how dope it is. But it's a fucking classic. It's hip hop royalty, that song.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. It truly is. I can, while I don't share your sentiments on how you feel about the song, I can understand how you get to that conclusion, because I was just having a discussion maybe about a month or so ago, and I said the same thing about Biggie's Juicy, where I have a love, like, I don't like, and maybe it's because we heard the song so much, but like when Juicy comes on, like if I'm listening to that particular album, I skip Juicy. I just like, I'm good on hearing Juicy. It's not that it's a bad song, because it's a dope song. It just got old really, really quick, and I can understand how you say that same thing about Children's Story. I love Children's Story, the video with the Keystone Cops. One of my favorite hip hop videos.
Really? And I don't like it. Imagine that.
Yeah, one of my favorite hip hop videos, man. It is a song that is, even to this day, if it's I don't do clubs, but if you're in the club and this comes on, get off the dance floor. Unless you're playing the dance. If you're just on the dance floor just chilling, because they're sure, one thing is sure to happen, women will rush the floor. And this is their jam, and it still jams to this day. Love the song. Love it, love it, love it. Then we go to track 4, The Moment I Feared. Now, I remember you talking about this before. What's your take on this song, man?
I love this song. It's constantly fighting to be my favorite song on the album, almost. But there's so many songs on here that I love. I just can't. I don't know. But the story, again, great story, way better story than Children's Story. And when I got old enough to get employment, every time I went to on lunch, I rapped this song. I'm sitting on my lunch break, gritting my teeth. The last day on Fridays, I cranked this song. The last day of the week, boy, what a relief. My muscles kind of aching. It felt rigid, so I looked around and I smoked this big fat spliff. Mind you, didn't know what a spliff was in '88.
Shout out to the spliffs.
Did not know what a spliff was in '88. But again, it's a testament to how dope the song is and how dope Slick Rick is when they're talking about a whole bunch of stuff that you didn't experience. I wasn't doing it in '88, but that's what was happening all over this album, and it was still dope. But the fear, so incredible, and it's kind of what got him in trouble.
Right.
He made the song and then kind of acted it out like a year later.
You know what's interesting about The Moment I Feared? I really, the last verse, like, I remember in '88, listening to the song and understanding how dope the song was, but I never really.
You didn't know that was going down? Literally.
So like a couple of years later, I'm like, yo, what the fuck is going on in this song?
It was going down at the end of that song.
And it's one of those moments. I know it probably happens to you from time to time. Like, you're like, yo, how did I miss that in a song? And I'm like, all these years later, like, how did I miss? So I laugh about it, but I want to say it had to be at least 3 or 4 years before the end of that song where I understood what was going on. I was like, yo, I've been listening? I had the tape. Like, how did I miss this part?
But now I'm in jail doing life and I'm scared. So kids stuff go and grease me where no one dared.
No one dared. Oh man, so yeah, same here, man. The storytelling on that, if you like or if you love, what's that?
I'm just thinking about the song. If you listen to the song and the end you hear, spread your cheeks.
He's like, oh, I'm like, what the fuck? Wait, man, what the hell is this?
Spread your cheeks.
I literally
stop.
He's like, stop. I literally did not. I mean, like, bruh, it was at least 3 or 4 years later before I realized what was actually going on. I'm like, how did I miss this? But again, like you said, I agree totally. For as dope as I think the storytelling is on Children's Story, the moment I feared the storytelling is like you said, and it kind of, what led to him getting in trouble, down the road. But incredible. Then we move to track 5, Let's Go Crazy.
Yeah.
Your take on Let's Go Crazy?
Not
to be confused with Prince's Let's Go.
Wait a minute, we're not talking about the Prince one?
No, not Prince.
Oh, I love it. Don't be a crumb and try to face me. My chip stacked, so let's get crazy. I don't know, man. I'm this more of a party record for that era. Mm-hmm. It's not a party record for this era.
Nope.
It's a party record for then. But he's still on his Slick Rick bragging shit. Mm-hmm. I love it. Go berserk, but keep it at a limit so no one gets hurt. Don't be boring, please. Not lazy, my Jim's Paxel.
Let's get crazy. Yeah, I loved it, man. I think you make a great point that it's a true party song, but it's a party song for 88, and it's a party song for 88 pop. Mm-hmm. It doesn't sound like a R&B party song. It doesn't even sound like a party radio song per se, because again, hip hop or rap at the time, that's what they called it. Rap wasn't getting a lot of airplay, you might get a Run DMC or maybe LL, somebody like that. But if you got, I mean, your lead song is treated like a prostitute, so you're not getting a lot of love on the air. Of course, Children's Story from this album, Children's Story and Teenage Love and Hey Young World were the 3 singles that were released. Mm-hmm. Teenage Love was first, and then Children's Story was second, and I think that was released in '89.
Because the album came out the end of the year.
Exactly. It was it wasn't gonna be that, but I loved it, man. A great party song. Then we moved to track 6, the aforementioned Indian Girl.
What was he doing?
Ladies and gentlemen,
why?
If you haven't realized this by now, this is not a favorite song of Eclectic and I. Nor Rashawn Jamal, nor C Rex, nor anybody else that joined on any of our podcasts. Anytime we talk about Slick Rick, I don't know. I think what I'm trying to say here, everybody, can have a mulligan, if you will. You can have a misstep. You can have a skip. You can have a bad song, but this song just wasn't that good at all. What's your take on it? If you have a take, what's your take on this song, other than it being trash?
I don't understand how or why he made this song. It doesn't even go with Trilla. It goes with nothing. It's like you wouldn't even think that the same person that made every other song on that album wrote this. I mean, the worst part about it, the absolute worst part about it, and there's so many bad things about this, is that fundamentally, structure-wise, it's a solid story.
Yeah.
Structure-wise.
Structure-wise, yeah.
But no.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Dave, pussies ain't supposed to speak. No.
This song sounds like it sounds like and feels like, okay, so there's a total of 12 tracks. Like, let's say he had 11 tracks and he was turning it into Def Jam and Columbia, and they were like, you know what, Rick, we need one more joint. And he probably didn't want to, I don't know, like, this song does not fit on this album. In fact, to be honest, I don't know what album this song fits on.
It doesn't fit in his fucking discography.
No, not at all. And I could probably give Slick, I could probably cut him some slack if this was track 12 of 12, but it's in the middle of the album. And again,
it's the last song on the first side.
Exactly. And again, why you hear the disdain in both of our voices is because we had the tape. We didn't have compact disc players. We could skip past the song. So you had to, at the very least, fast forward.
You had to go to Let's Get Crazy, fast forward, and then flip the tape
over. So
every time. There was no reason to, after you heard this song once, you had no intentions on here listening to it again.
I actually pushed myself to listen to this song maybe about a year ago. And I don't know why. I was just sitting there like, why? You know, like, it just, and I was trying to get some type of, you know, understanding as to why it was on his albums.
I mean, is it social commentary on how the founders founded the America and what it did to the Indians? And
Indian girl,
an adult story.
An adult story.
He
told us it. An adult story is 3 minutes 17 seconds. Not worth your time.
Oh.
Okay. So we move on. Track 7, Teenage Love. Come on, man. What you got on Teenage Love?
Teenage Love has a special place in my heart because. Absolutely not. Stop it.
What girl is associated with this song, man?
No, I wasn't a teenager in '88. I don't think you were. So I had no teenage love.
To be honest, there was a girl in my life associated, and she had a Jerry curl.
Of course you did. You did too.
No, I didn't.
You did. So anyway,
she was cute though.
It was the first time I saw Slick Rick. Actually, if you think about it, it's the first time you saw Slick Rick that was not in a magazine. The first time you actually saw him move about live, unless you caught Lottie Dottie or the show when they did it on Soul Train.
I did. Did you?
I might have.
Okay.
But up until then, you never saw him. You heard him. You know the voice. That's how dope hip-hop was back in the day. When Lottie Dottie and the show came out, the record cover, it wasn't no record cover. It was just a sleeve with a hole in the middle. It was just a 12-inch. There wasn't no pictures.
Nope.
You didn't. The only way you knew what Dougie Fresh looked like is if you watched Beat Street.
That's it.
You didn't know what these people looked like until their videos. And
you still love the music.
Yeah, you still and you know, fast forward to now, you know what I'm saying. But so it holds a special place in my heart because it was the first time I saw one of my favorite MCs on video. And to this day, 100% to this day, he did something that I think is the cool. This is back when you could be cool. When cool was cool, not trendy or this. He did something that I still want to do to this day. I would do tomorrow if I could.
What's that?
In this video, he's walking down the street and he has the Dookie Gold cable, the chain, and he has, I want to say, a turtleneck on and a V-neck sweater. Or it's a sweater, but he has the chain tucked under the sweater. You can see it on the shirt. And I was like, that is the coolest thing. That is the dopest look I've ever seen. It's like, yeah, I could be like all the rappers that have my chains all out, but you know, I'm kind of dressed up a little bit right now, so I'm just gonna tuck this under the sweater.
That's so 88. That is so 88.
I would do that tomorrow with the gold chain. What's up? Anyway. And you had Big Daddy Kane in the video,
This is
which two things. One, it gave him a rub. It's like, oh, he cool with Big Daddy Kane. Right. Oh, this is, hey, then I'm down. The second one, it kind of bugged me out of my head because I saw the video before I had the album. Mm-hmm. I get the album, and I remember seeing Big Daddy Kane in the video with Slick Rick. But I listened to A Moment I Feared, and he was like, see, Daddy Boy. I was like, is that Big Daddy Kane? Did he take Big Daddy Kane's girl? I was like,
all of you would make that correlation. I hear
man,
you.
I swear, man, for the longest
That's funny
time, when I first got the joint, I was just like, what? I'm like, but it was really Danny Boy.
Mm-hmm, right.
But I thought he said Daddy Boy.
I did too.
I thought it was I was like, oh, he took DK's girl. And so that's why when he was on the train, he was acting like he was about to shoot her on fucking Teenage Love. Hey, man, we didn't have internet. My brain was running wild back then.
But that was great. That's what was dope about that era.
Yeah.
Your imagination could take over. Wow.
Just like, and they beefing.
That is so true. And Big Daddy Kane also had an album out in 1988. Long Live the Kane. I don't really have much to add. That like you said, the video was just.
Oh, and shout out to Dana Dane was also in the video.
Yes, Dana Dane.
The Kango crew.
Mm-hmm. And that was another thing that was really important too. Like and we talked about it on a previous podcast as well. Having somebody like Kane, having somebody like Dana Dane in your video, that was a cosign. And that was, that went right along with the, like you mentioned before, the liner notes, the liner note shout outs, that stuff was important to us at least, because if we were in the Slick Rick and he shouted these dudes out, then we knew that they were dope, or at least they were cool because they were cool with him. And
real quick, when you listen to A Teenage Love, which groove, mm-hmm. You would never, and this is what I was saying earlier, you would never think that the same people that made Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos,
not even close,
Bring the Noise, and Don't Believe Hype made
Teenage Love. But it goes back to what you said. This album sonically was tailor-made for Slick Rick. Yeah. I don't necessarily think that there are any other MCs at that particular time in 1988 that could have or would have been able to rock over these beats the way that Ricky D did. So I agree with you 100% on that. I don't have anything to add to Teenagers. I mean, you killed it right there. Then we go into track 8, Mona Lisa.
That's the classics.
Classic hip hop jam. And another song that if it gets played at the club that you're at or the lounge or wherever it is that you kicking, you got to get up and get your two-step on. You got to. It's a must. This is a hip hop staple right here. It's so much I can say about it. What's your take on Mona Lisa?
Other great story. Shout outs to him because I don't know for a fact. I do not know if I always did this or it was because of this song. Because it was so long ago that I say pizza. It's either I heard this was like, hey, he said like I do.
Right.
Or I listened to it so much. I was like, yeah, I gotta go get a slice of pizza.
Probably the latter.
I don't know, but I love this. I mean, one, sit down, eat your slice of pizza, and be quiet. Yep. She almost got cut short, scissors. I love this fucking song because he's rapping and he's rapping, talking to himself.
Yeah, it's a self rap.
And fucking and while he was rapping to himself, talking to himself, then rapping as the girl who's also talking to him. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And while you're doing that is also what he's doing. Also, if you ever, let's say you're single, right? You're not married. Right. You're single. You go out to the club. you go out at the mall and you meet a girl, and you're like, yo, she bad, and you go talk to her, and you sit down talking to her, and you're like, so so tell me about yourself. And the first thing she says is, well, I got courage and I don't like porridge. hey man.
Oh, don't like porridge.
This chick is a lunatic. Well, I got courage. I don't like porridge.
Man, that speaks to the brilliance of Ricky D, the ruler. Oh man, that is so funny.
I'll tweet that tomorrow. All I'm tweeting is, well, I got courage and I don't like porridge.
Oh god.
I love that song.
Oh yeah, I do too, man. My favorite part of the song is when he spells out his name.
Yes.
When they play that in the club, your DJ, if your DJ doesn't cut out the music and let the crowd spell the words, then your DJ's whack. Tell them to get off the set. I mean, like that is a hip hop staple right there. Jesus, I love that song. Then we go to track number 9, Kit. What's the scoop?
Again, I love Kit. What's the scoop?
Me too.
I know people that do not like this song.
I don't know anybody that doesn't. I've heard people talk about not liking it, but there weren't people that I knew. None of our friends disliked the song.
I know a couple of people. I was like, how can you not like this song? Matter of fact, this is a song that I quote the most. I quote a certain part of the song often. Mm-hmm. And that is tight security. Man, it was the softest. Anytime, so this is what happens. So anytime I see security guards, I say,
oh yeah, you got to.
When I play video games and I'm playing like basketball and I got defense, I'm like tight security. And as an Easter egg on you probably don't remember this, but De La Soul's song "Simply Having."
Okay.
On De La Soul's song "Simply Having," I want to say it's Pastor News. He says that he was like tight security, and Pastor was like, and it's still soft. And then that killed. I was like, yo, they so dope for doing that. Right. Because that's not a. No, he said airtight security. Man, it's still soft, and because that's not something obvious.
Right.
So they did that because obviously they loved the song, and for people that's like, yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, because it wasn't a diss.
Yeah, because it wasn't like he said, "What's the scoop?" Like something that's obvious. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But he was like, yeah. So anyway, but yeah, I love this song. Somebody stole his crown, man.
That, what's interesting? I'm still thinking about what you said about people not liking. I don't know anybody that doesn't like this song. This song is a banger, man. This song is a banger. And for those of you listening, if you're not familiar with this album, these what we're running down is hit after hit after hit after. I mean, like just bangers that you. I mean, like you're glued at this point. If you're listening to the tape, with the way that we were, you're glued to the tape. I was free, and alarm was alerted. I made a flying leap through the window, and it hurted. Hurted.
Hey man, this is what you can't do with a lot of current. You can't just go over the lyrics and be like,
Nah, because it's skirt, skirt, and all that stuff like that.
and it's the same 4 words repeated a whole bunch of times.
Put your hood up. Put your set up. Put your hood up. Oh man.
Man's cut. Thanks a lot. Who wanna die? We up top, somewhat. Forget me not. As that I have on last one as a blast from out the past. Dash fast and here at last. Fast right. Thus stop. No one can rig you this. A Ricky Rick. Click shot, cause I'm the king of this.
Look at it. Look at it. Oh man. And then so we moved to track 10. Hey Young World. I mentioned it earlier, man, that the third song that was released from the album, man.
I tweet little parts of this song out because it's so relevant.
It is.
And kids need to hear stuff like this. I think it was like a month ago. I just tweeted simply, because folks your age don't act like you do. Just like, why are you acting like this?
Yes, why? Why? Please tell me why. Oh my gosh. This song, man. This song really all of these songs bring back memories, but this song in particular just brings back a lot of great memories because when it was out, like everybody in my neighborhood had the song and was playing it, and they just like, you couldn't go anywhere without hearing this. And again, this song got, some airplay in South Carolina, not a lot where I'm from.
Nah, it didn't get a lot of, look, not only was hip hop not hip hop that it is now, they didn't really want us to advance and learn and be good people. Yo, another tweet. Just a simple. Society's a weak excuse for a man. That's just Jesus. 88, man. And right now you can still just put that out there like, men don't steal. Hey, most don't borrow. Come on, man.
Oh man.
Here's the problem with the song. Here's the problem.
What's that?
How did the same person make Indian Girl, man?
The only thing I can say is that just shows you the level of dexterity for Slick Rick, because the man started off the album with Treat Her Like a Prostitute. In the middle, he gives you Indian Girl, and then at the end, he gives you Hey Young World. I mean, like, long before there was, the inspirational songs like I Know I Can by Nas, and,
this kills.
I mean, oh man, this song, like you said, it still resonates 30 years later, and it's just as important and it's just as relevant as it ever was.
Man never loses a fight, and guys, boy.
I love that joy. I love it, man. I love it. Then we go to track 11. Teacher. What you got?
Now, this is what also fights to be my favorite song.
Really?
Hey, man. This song is so. This and the last song that I love these songs. Mm-hmm. When I walk into a party, coke snorters laugh, and the girls be crazy coming for my mere autograph. Just teacher, because he was the teacher, he's the ruler, and Karis One got a song called Teacher,
mm-hmm.
but it didn't matter because the story at the end. He's so stupid. He gets into a fight, and then the police break it up, and the police was like, "Rick, you okay?" He said, "I had to play it off. Some girls was looking my way, so I smacked one in the face and told him I won't retire." And 80 years from now, What the?
Oh,
When he goes,
God.
yeah, chicks is like, I gotta play this song.
Yeah, I got to. I can't show my hand.
But he puts it in a rhyme. It's so dope.
Yeah, man.
It's
Yeah. It goes without saying, but I'm gonna say it anyway. They don't make them like this anymore. They just don't, man. I mean, like Teacher is a song really, I love the song, and I remember listening to it one time, and I was like, and it's just something that I do from time to time. Like, why did he put this at the end? Like, he really could have put it anywhere on this album. But now think about it. Now that's the end of the B-side, so it's just as dope. So he he redeems himself from Indian Girl. And then we come into the
whoa.
Go ahead.
One little shout out, because we often say on your show and on my show how biting is the cardinal sin, and he says in that song, they have no class, they have no shame, they'll bite another brother to boost their own aim, get paid correct on a one-way gimmick. I'm happy for you, low lifes, but remember there's a limit. Yo, that's so dope.
Yo, Rick would call people low lifes in a minute.
Low lifes and crumbs. I started using that because of him. I started calling people crumbs because of Slick Rick.
Yo.
But my man saying they get paid correct on a one-way gimmick. I'm happy for your low lifes, but remember there's a limit, so say.
Me and my boys still say crumbs. It's just like a little inside joke. Like, we'll see someone like on social media or something, and then we'll just type crumbs. Like, it's a little inside joke, man. But I remember it's a couple of times in this album he calls people low lifes, and that you just didn't call, like, you could call somebody a bum or a buster or something like that, but you didn't call people low lifes were really that was like below the barrel. But yeah, man, it's oh my gosh, just again, love to Teach, incredible song. Then we get into track 14, which is the last track, Lick the Balls.
Now, this track, I might listen to this particular song more than any other song on the album. It's hard to come up with my favorite. But one, the title is kind of misleading. but after you've heard a couple of his songs, you would assume that this is gonna be for real. Lick the balls,
right?
like literally, it's just gonna be a track of lick.
Oh my gosh!
But I run this part of town with your diamonds and your girl in fur. I'm trying to enter in this record that you haven't, sir. You're kind of late, flat tire. What we doing, cuz? All right, pay me now and you'll be at the hump. I hope I don't mess up. I'm ready for even break. Man, this song, it got a story. Then he started begging. And then at the end, he just hey, man. I'll swap and give your girl a bowl of puppy chow.
Oh my gosh.
Like what?
A bowl of I would give your girl a bowl of puppy chow.
How can he just say his girl's ugly or looks like a dog, man? Why?
Hey man, who stands, who falls, who crowds the halls? This one, the DJ calls Lick the Balls. I mean, like,
no, don't forget. Don't forget two things. Who's hitting rough at 88? I bet your mama knows. Backside you on down like our dominoes.
Yes.
And then stun them all. Come on, y'all. Give me a taste of life. Act trife. I'll let my dog go.
Fuck your wife.
What is wrong with this man?
Oh my god, hey, he dumbed out on that, man. Let's just say that he dumbed out on that one.
And the chick in the back going, oh.
It is so subtle, but it's so dope. It's hard to say this, man, but this is my favorite track.
I don't blame you.
This is my favorite, and the scratching at the end. Oh my god.
Right. So this is one of the songs I had none of the scratching at the end of.
Oh, are you serious?
I had to fit it on my tape.
Bruh.
And so like the 2 years later when I bought the cassette, I was like, yeah, this is crazy.
Yo, that is crazy. That is one of the dopest parts about the song is the scratching at the end, and you didn't have that for years. Wow.
I did not have all of it at all.
Wow.
Did not.
That's crazy. That is crazy. But yeah, it took me a minute to actually come to the point where I could say this is my favorite song. It's not because it's not a great song, because it's a dope ass song, but it's so many songs on this album, so many dope tracks. But yeah, this is my favorite, probably followed by Hey Young World. God damn, man, it's I don't know. You could probably ask me 10 days from now, I might tell you something different. But Lick was my favorite. Lick the Ball is my favorite.
The girls you watch now and trans now, how they see me slam shit on motherfuckers, and I tell them who the fuck I am.
Who the fuck I am? Oh, his flow was impeccable on this track. Again, the Bomb Squad did this track.
Yo, they might be the most underrated producers ever.
I'm going to do
on the strength of this album, they might be the most underrated, because if you mention them, you're going to mention Public Enemy and Ice Cube.
Of course.
You will never mention
this album. And this is arguably one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time. And it's one of the
and the fact that they actually could do this, because this doesn't sound, not one single track they did on here sounds like anything they ever did before or since. Nothing.
And again, like you said, when people talk about the Bombs, always go back to their work with Ice Cube and obviously their work with Public Enemy, but they never talk about this album, man. And again, other than Jam Master Jay and Slick Rick has some producer credits, I produced this album. Other than The Rule Is Back. Pretty much it was the Bomb Squad and Slick Rick. So, yeah, incredible. And like I said, the scratching at the end of Lick the Balls, you could just ride off the scratching. And it's so funny to me now thinking about you having this album and not having the scratches on your tape. But yeah, man, that was this album. Again, a phenomenal album. It's an album that, if for some reason any of you listening have not heard it, shame on you, but go listen to it.
Yeah, we're just over here bugging off this joint.
I mean, and trust me, we could do this all day. Okay, so quick question: if you could rap on track, which track are you rapping on? Because you definitely can't rap on Indian Girl.
No.
Then again, you can't make it much worse. you probably bring something to it.
Definitely. See, I'm thinking as far as beat low, the moment I feared. Just but it might be Teacher.
Okay. Yeah, I think Lick the Balls for me, man.
Isolate that. Play that back. Play that for his wife. Like, look.
Yeah, I think
he was talking to this lady, and then he said this, like the balls for me.
Yeah, man, you got it. Yeah. That's my joint, man. That's my. I mean, me, Rick, and the Bomb Squad cutting at the end. Yeah, I'm all in. Last question: If Slick Rick walked into the 12 Kyle Studios right now with me and you,
right,
what would you tell him about this album?
I tell him that,
or just any questions that you might. Let me rephrase that. What would you
Because I
say
tell him
to?
that he made probably one of the greatest
Okay.
albums of all time.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Yeah. What would you say to Slick Rick if he walked in here and he just happened to hear us talking about this album? What would you say to him either about this album or just anything in general?
Yeah, I'd be like, look, you got to get back in the studio. You should do a whole album with him and Dana Dane and Flying Dougie Fresh. That's what I would say. I would say, look, that's what
We need that to happen.
I was like, so I would definitely say that. And then I'd be like, seriously, Indian girl, man. I need, you have to tell me why.
Oh man, hey man, great minds think alike. I think if I had, I probably wouldn't. I'd have to ask him about that, man. Cause.
Okay, tell me this. Mm-hmm. Tell me this. If that song did not exist and this was an 11-track album, where would it rank in your top hip hop albums?
This would This be number one.
Exactly.
This would be number one. I mean, like, and the crazy part about it is, if anybody else does Indian Girl on any other album, I don't know that we'll necessarily. I mean, we might be disappointed. We might, have a reaction or whatever because the song's not that good. But it's just what we expect from Slick Rick, and then what he gave us on the entire album. Again, if you're not familiar with this album, listen to it, and then when you listen to it in this context and listen to what we have to say, when you get to track 6, you're gonna be like, "What?" it's like, who snuck this one in? Like,
yeah,
did somebody's cousin, do that? I mean, like,
that is the last Boy Scout of the album.
Right. So I mean, like, it just doesn't fit, man. And so, if he walked in here, I would ask him now, like, how does this end up on the album? I'm sure that there's a logical explanation. I would like to hear it, and I mean, he don't owe me an explanation, but I would love to hear as to how this came about. I would also, ask him, how, the production and what it took to put all this together, because this is a phenomenal album. And I think this album, at least for me, I know even listening some 30 years later, it still sounds dope, man. It doesn't sound dated. It still feels good. It still feels like hip hop. And so, I'll always bang it. It'll always be banging in my car or in my ears or whatever the case may be. I just have to skip over tracks. That's
forever.
It's a forever skip. All right, man. Before we get out of here, man, tell the people where they can find you, where they can holler at you, where they can politic ditto.
Oh shit, Nick. Listen, at Tweet Rhymes Life on the Twitter machines, at eclectik. Spell it correctly, and then take the last C off. Put a K there.
There you go.
ECLECTIK, eclectic relaxation. If you enjoy podcasts, which I'm assuming you do, because if you want to hear hip hop done right on the podcast, if you don't want 12 Kyle all in your podcast,
all on your drops,
But Encyclopedia Hip Hop Podcast, Eclectic Discussion Podcast, at One Gotta Go on Twitter. That's me. I did it. Hey, if you follow Tweet Rhymes Life, I'm always posting Wu-Tang Wednesdays.
Which is dope, by the way.
I'm always giving you some old school hip hop videos, and some good questions, thought-provoking hip hop questions. So, yeah. And I'll be on the show a whole bunch, so you don't have to unsubscribe yet.
They know better. They've been rocking with me long enough. You guys know how to reach me. Keep supporting, and we're gonna keep pumping out the podcast. As always, man, thanks for listening to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. So for my man Eclectic, I'm your boy 12 Kyle. We'll catch you guys next time. 5 G's. Chill. Boom, there it is in the banks. That was dope.